Hey, good morning, everybody. How are we doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, Chris. How about yourself?
Rocking and rolling.
Gotta love it. Like we said, we know when we get here, it's Friday. We're getting into the weekend. You gotta love it. Made it through another long week.
Yes, yes. And for those of you who are into Diablo 4, the new patch just dropped. Seasons have started. Make sure you log into your characters and you get ready to create your season character if you're going to be doing that. That's going on right now. Just
Does that
FYI.
mean you won't get much sleep over the weekend?
No, I mean, I'll just think about playing that where I'm doing other things.
Gotcha. I'm not a big gamer, so that's not. I could say big gamer. I don't play any of those games at all. So, but that's good for y'all that do. Enjoy the weekend.
Yeah. But we've had a big week. We had a great live stream
Oh my
with
goodness.
Christina where we went into
Hmm.
CICD. Did you get a chance to join us, Kevin?
Yeah, I was on live. That one I wouldn't miss. She is so wonderful. Besides the content that she came out with and everything, the banter between y'all, she's just laughing all the time. I'll tell you, those two live streams were so enjoyable with her on there. So I know she has a ton of topics. I'm sure you're going to have her on again sometime in the future. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's other areas that I interact with her too. It's if you have a chance to listen to something she's got to talk about, you'll learn a lot and you'll enjoy doing it. So
Yeah, that
very
is
good.
straight up truth. She is getting married in October, so she's
Hmm.
like
Super
putting a
busy.
pause on the
Yeah.
extracurricular work stuff. So, but she is awesome. Do check her out if you get a chance. She's great. And good morning, everyone in the chat. We see
Yeah.
some of my favorite people there are here. Sheila Hartz is joining us. Hey, Sheila, how you doing? And we got Stina from Texas, and
Hmm.
Aaron Siegel and Mark Rar is here. Good.
That's Amen Siegel.
Oh,
AMO
Amin.
Amen.
Oh,
AMON.
my bad.
That's all right.
Sorry,
Sometimes
Amin.
it's hard to read real quick.
Yeah, Amin. I don't know if you can see Dax. Am I just a little bit out of camera range here? There he is. Say hi, Dax. Dax hangs out
Hey,
with me while we do my while I work all the time. Oh, no. What have I
Dax
done?
Dax keeps us in line. If you hear him barking, then you know we're out of line.
Oh, that I've heard him bark a singular time. Like it was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? it, he's a great dog. So,
That's
good
good.
morning, Aaron. Welcome. Yeah. So, uh, for those of you who are new, and hopefully, if you're just finding us, why don't you post in the chat channels #new? Otherwise, thank you for everyone who's come back again over and over again. We kind of do this live stream. I look at it as it really serves some two big focuses. Number one,
Mhm.
it makes sure that Kevin and I stay up to date on all of the latest things that are going on. So we're always kind of like challenging ourselves, pushing ourselves, kind of like a gym buddy, right? You go to the gym with a buddy, and like
Mhm.
he's like, all right, one more rep, one more set, let's put 10 more pounds on. I really feel like this partnership is working out great because Kevin's like, hey, did you read this article? And I'm like, I saw it, but I didn't read it. And okay, we're going to talk about it. So now I read it, right? And it works out fantastic. But we're also here to help you, right? So if you have questions, issues, challenges, you want to just clarify something, noticing something that's going on inside the system, please let us know. We are happy to do that. We are following Guy in the Cube, Matthew Roche rules. So hey, rule one, please prefix any question with a Q. That really helps us get things uh, into our queued log so that we can bring them back up when appropriate. Because we kind of like lay out the schedule for the live stream, not like super rigid, but we kind of know what's going to go on. So if like you ask a question and it's we're going to be at a good point to answer it at some point in time in the future. We'll kind of like hold it for that. So
Mm.
don't, stay tuned if you think like, oh, they missed me. That's not the case. And that actually leads into the second one. Please don't repeat questions. We do have moderators, so if anyone you see with a little wrench by their name, they will like kind of like put you on a timeout or block you from posting and stuff like that. And we haven't
Mhm.
had any of that to my knowledge so far, so let's not do that again. But if you preface it with a cue, that really helps us stay organized as we're going through this live stream, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely. So if you have a question, like you said, put it out there. We're going to go through a couple other things, but one of the things we're going to touch on, I believe, came from, I want to even say it was our first episode. Somebody posted a question out there, and then the question came out again in a recent conversation that I had. So we're going to show you something that I kind of found hidden in the documentation here in a little bit. But I think we got a
yeah.
couple other things we want to go through first, right, Chris?
We certainly do. And before we get into that,
Mhm.
what I would really like to see from the chat is I would like to number one see where's there. Well, everyone does where everyone's from. I want to hear about what is a highlight that you have had in the past week at work or working with fabric or working with data just in general. What are some of the things that are out there that are really moving things forward and making you a happy person? Uh,
Hmm.
I am gonna I'm gonna call out that Alex Powers, who just joined. If you're not following Alex on Twitter or LinkedIn, he's not about to sell. He's also working on the. He has a YouTube channel, the two Alexes. So
Ooh,
make
that's
sure you
right. I
check him
think they
out.
were going to have an episode.
Yeah, they're after a long hiatus because of like babies and stuff.
Yeah.
They're it sounds like they're coming back, so fingers crossed we're going to see that again. But uh, one of my favorite things that is in the Power BI service is the Power BI app to keep track of the roadmap and see the things that are coming out and see the features that have been released. That's a Power BI app that you can download from the store and you can run it. You should have it as part of your COE. This week, there was an update to it because they changed their roadmap. Like, I guess they changed the JSON or something like that. So they had to do an update to that. So if you're using it, please go out and make sure you update the app. It's relatively easy to do so. You just go in and it'll say, "Hey, it's like I got a notification the other day that failed. I just went in and clicked on, update from the store. It updated the app, and I'm good to go." So make sure you do that, and make sure you thank Alex Powers for that because unless I'm grossly wrong, Alex is the one who created that. So
I think you're right. I think he created it and went through the effort to get it approved as an app. I believe in listening to conversations from him. He had to go through the same thing that anybody else that publishes a template app, I think is what they're called, or
yep,
being able to have it installed. He had to go through the same rigor, proving that it was all in good shape and everything. So yeah, I use that all the time. Thanks, Alex, for doing that. And there you go. That answers what's up on the screen now for Miss Belinda.
yep. Belinda was asking, where do you get the shirts? Well, you can just get those on the store. Both the Fabric Fridays and the Fabric shirts are available. They support the F or FF as Kevin is showing on the upper right, and then there's a big F on the back because you know what? F it.
Careful, careful, careful. Just trying to move my microphone to
Oh,
make mine show a little bit better too. So
it's all good, man. Oh, good deal, good deal. And I go to like immediately like what? I'll just show this really quick, and now I can't find it. I don't know what I did to it. So oh well.
oh well.
Awesome. But we are going to go to something before that, though. Maybe I'll pull that up while you're talking about this. But there's something you brought to light. We mentioned it before, but Kevin, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so since our live stream last week, this Microsoft Learn AI Skills Challenge has gone live. So we wanted to promote this a little bit. I haven't gone through it yet, but I'm going to make a commitment before August 14th to go through one of the skills. Uh, so I think Chris is going to put the post out here in just a second, so you
Yep.
can get right to it. But basically, there's 4 different challenges you could choose from. I think I'm going to try this machine learning challenge. It's always where I wanted to get into first. But then if I get a little bit deeper, maybe I'll try the other ones. Uh, so go out here, take the challenge, let everybody know that you got through it. Once you do, I think there's a badge. Yeah, there's a digital badge that you will end up getting that you could share and brag amongst all your friends that you passed this challenge. So these have historically been a really, really good way to help you break into a new skill. They've done it with a lot of different things, and I've heard from a lot of members that, or a lot of people that come up on our audience that we also talk with on other days of the week, that they've enjoyed the challenges to help get them going and everything. So yeah, definitely, get at it, learn more AI. AI is, what we're going to be focused on in the future, right? Everybody you talk to now that ChatGPT has come out with, every conversation turns to how do I do something with AI, and then qualifying that something. So get your skills up. Never stop learning.
Never stop, never stopping, right? Isn't that the
Never stop, never stopping. Okay.
is that
I think it's the first I've heard that one, but
really?
okay.
Oh, that's from
Never stop, never stopping.
Superstar, that what's his name? Andy Samberg
Hmm.
movie.
Oh, okay, okay.
Did you ever see that or no?
I've seen a lot of his movies. I'm one of these people that watch movies and then I could watch it again the next day because I totally forget them. It's just something that doesn't stick with me all the time. So sometimes they do. Sometimes song lyrics stick with me more than movies. I end up quoting songs a whole lot. So
Okay.
just the
Um
way an insight into how weird Kevin works.
well, for those of you, I feel like I have an obligation now. I started this. I'm going to show you how you
Yeah,
go
that's a good
get the
idea.
app. So start in Fabric, go to your Power BI experience, right? And then if you head into apps, this you just head over and you go to Get Apps, and you'll see a whole bunch of apps that are available out here that you can download for free and make use of. But if you just type in Power BI, you'll see the Power BI release plan right here. Just click on it and
Mhm.
then Get Now. Click on Get Now. And it's going to download, it's going to install, and you got to click on install. It's going to run for a little bit. Um, or it's going to install the app, and then we got to go to the app to do a refresh on it. I'll connect the data. Next. Sign in, continue. Sign in, continue. Um, and then it's gonna refresh, and you can just do anonymous connections on all of that because it's using publicly available information, so you don't have to worry about any of that. But now I've got the Power BI release plan. I absolutely love to include this app inside of my Center of Excellence team space, so that I can consolidate all of the information I want people in my organization to have about things that are going on within Power BI. Uh, do check this out. This is a fantastic way to keep track of the new features that are coming out or are slated to come out. And I'm just generally speaking, ooh, look at this. There's a new thing you can see public preview and general availability. Was this always there, Alex? Gosh, I hope he's still
I
there.
want to say it was
Oh, I
on
love that.
that far right side. Yeah, I remember seeing that before. Of it lists out things so you can see, hey, it's going to come out in preview, and you have an idea what month that's going to be, and then you see it come back again later to know what month it actually goes to GA. And
Well,
and that could be across different waves and everything. So it could take a while before the GA column lights up with the link and everything. And then those
okay.
links are to the document itself that kind of talks about the introduction of what the feature is. Um,
But correct
and
me if I'm
everything.
wrong. Isn't this everything that is still in public preview so you can kind of keep an eye on that?
Yeah, yeah. So, well, because the earlier months are going to be there, right?
Right.
So you could filter it by what's in public preview and see what was done in the earlier months.
Okay. Well, that's great because it's really good to understand what is. Oh, yeah, it's right here. What's in
Yeah,
public preview, what's not, so you understand what's GA. These
right.
are the things you should be using inside your organization. You can get support tickets on. These you can't. So keeping track of that stuff can be really hard. But with this new app, it's much easier to do so. So very exciting about that.
Yeah, definitely use it. Use it all the time. So
Yeah, it's great. An awesome thing to include inside your um, a new actually this hey hang on actually I'm sorry I got distracted.
that's
This is a
okay.
great comment from
Squirrels are
Ollie.
wonderful.
Yes, squirrel. um but Ollie is mentioning, hey, teams and companies should also find inspiration in this app to publish new and develop features. This is a fantastic idea because think of all of the content and updates that are coming out. I mean, how are you conveying those updates? How do you convey to your team, like, oh, yeah, you added in a drill through function inside that report that they were asking for? Because I know while some of us are able to like get through every request that comes in every day and just like it's there the next day and people are accustomed to that, most people can't necessarily do that stuff. It's something that is, takes longer to get out there. And I think this is a brilliant idea, Ollie.
That is an interesting idea. I want to say back to how, and I think this has come up before, but just how disciplined and how well Microsoft has implemented this. You know, plan things out, have these monthly releases, right, or even more frequently than that on the service, but at least have some type of high level plan, make that public, and everything. It takes a lot of discipline, a lot of work from the team to do that. A lot of people have to buy into it. And so, that's kind of one of the things that I'm not sure every company has um, the will to do that, right? Because other things within the company, right? Because other companies, they're not an IT type company, right? So then all of a sudden something distracts them, and they lose that discipline. But if you could do that within your IT shop to follow this type of model, and I've heard others kind of say that they wish Microsoft would talk a little bit more about just how they are doing all of this. How do they get everybody to buy in, plan out these features, report it out, and then things like Alex, where he just took the initiative to kind of produce this, to start showing it, to generate the idea that you just put up there. If you could get that idea going in your company, man, you're right. You would move along really well and have great communication with your team.
Well, and Alex is even saying he's going to be doing one for Fabric too. So,
Hmm.
I mean, what an incredible mechanism. So people have line of sight into the work that's being done. And I think there's lots of tools and processes that a lot of companies take on to do that. The last couple of big companies I've worked at, they were using Jira for that, right? And so
Hmm.
they had all these Jira stories, and they used that for tracking their big major epics and the items on the roadmap. Um, and now Jira into any reporting tool is god awful. So woe unto you if you are attempting that. It's not impossible. And if you're in a smaller organization, like those APIs are easier to call than if you're in a large organization. But if you're a large organization, it's a challenge.
At Azure DevOps is the same way, right?
Yeah.
You could do all of those, set
Yep.
those type of things up, but getting the data out of it is challenging, or even plugging something back in. We've done it a couple little times, but it's always seemed to break after a while with some change that came out. So, yeah, it's anyways, that's not what we're here to
No,
totally
no, no,
focus
no,
on
no, no.
today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Kevin, and I know we have well, two other things we're going to hit on before
Mhm.
we go over your desktop on some notebooks and some great new features. So let's go into this one. And I thought
Yeah,
actually this was very cool.
yeah. So this was another article that came out since our our live stream last week. Data warehouse sharing, right? So it's a new feature that's in the data warehousing experience. And I would definitely recommend reading this article and looking into it. I've read it a couple times. I haven't tried it in one of my areas yet, but what I what I see that this is doing is it starts laying out for us some of the direction that Microsoft's going to be taking with Fabric in the security area, right? So this is allows you to set up some type of sharing, um, that's not totally the workspace roles, right? So from the warehouse, you're going to be able to do some data sharing and set it up with some default permissions to read all data, just kind of like what we used to have, what we would have in SQL Server, right? If you guys are used to it, you see it highlighted or see it here. The equivalent of DB Reader. If you know SQL Server, you are very familiar with that role. And even being able to customize it down a little bit more, I believe, right? Yeah, if you needed to customize it on this last paragraph, you could get down to particular object level security like what we have over in SQL Server itself. So to me, this is all a great type of thing. There's been, I think, some questions of, how do I share something out, but I don't want to give them, so much access into the workspace or whatever. I just want to give them a particular table or a set of tables or even all the tables in this one warehouse, but not see everything else. This is the start of that. So we're going to see, I think, a lot more with permissions and with sharing coming out. I have no insight into that, but that's just kind of my opinion, because we've heard them come on and talk about more and more on the security permissions within OneLake and how that's going to kind of collect that all permissions will be managed out of there. So take a look at this article, get kind of used to it. If you have yourself a dev tenant, I think I bring up dev tenant once every episode, right? You can set up multiple people, log in as multiple people, and share to somebody and see how you could kind of mess around with this. Always learn how to use something before you need to have to do it in a quick situation. What do you think about this, Chris?
Yeah, I think this is great because it goes into addressing a need that a lot of people have been talking about for a long time. Like, hey, Power BI has certain sharing needs that it's had, and Fabric has inherited a lot of those sharing capabilities. But now that we're starting to do things with data warehousing and data engineering capabilities, we're going to need a more sophisticated or more custom roles for how people share and consume information. So I think it's fantastic that they're expanding these capabilities. They're doing more things so that we can address a lot of those needs. In fact, Mim posted a tweet. It must have been like a day or before this article went out, saying like, "Hey, we need customized roles at the data warehouse layer." And uh, I don't know if he knew and was like prepared for this coming out, but like, um, it is. It was funny, the timing that he
Yeah,
would ask for it and then they'd roll that out. So
it is kind of funny. I don't think I caught all that it was in there. I kind of remember seeing some of those tweets or whatever that he was talking about that, but I didn't make that connection. So
yeah, well, and Kevin,
that's how quickly Microsoft listens.
well, yes, yeah, no, it takes a little longer than that for Microsoft to do things, right? Like they've got an incredible DevOps process where they're rolling out changes all the time, but even with all of that, there's still work that goes into it. Stino has posted about he has a dev tenant, but he hasn't set up this weekend. He's going to be doing that. Kevin, I know you've spoken
Mm-hmm.
in like SML about like setting up a dev tenant. Do you have any tips for people like Stino who's going to be setting that up on how to get that up and running? I know
Yeah.
this
So
was not the
actually,
topic for today,
no,
so
that's fine. But
yeah,
on the minimum material that I put out on my YouTube channel,
yeah,
I do have 2 videos out there. I need to get better at it, but I like that we're here. Live makes it easy, even simpler. But there's 2 videos out there that she could use. I think maybe she's even looked at the first one. The first one just talks about setting up the dev tenant. One of the things that I recommend is create yourself a new Outlook account, right? So you're not tying it to your own personal account, you're not tying it to your work account. You have it something totally separate. And
Mm.
then the second video actually shows how to use on the setup page. It automatically will create, I want to say 10 or 12 um, personas, people within your tenant, and you could set a certain password that you remember for all of them. So this way, you could use private browsers or profiles within your browser to connect as multiple people, so you could test different things out, right? And that's really the part that I like about it, because doing it within a work tenant, you can't share somebody else's password and say, hey, let me see how this role level security works for you. Right? You got to get with them, bring them online, look at the configuration. I have my dev tenant will have two browsers and sit there and make changes, do things as one, looks at it from the other. So that is a huge benefit for me. So Stina, go ahead and watch that video. It's very simple. They make it very simple for you to set up multiple people. I have talked about I need to set up another video that where you get into um, the Azure Active Directory and show how to create people themselves. Like what I've done is created an ID for when I want to test it out, premium per user, and have that one ID do the trial. So I could leave the trials for other IDs if I wanted to try it on something different, or even set up new ones. So
Fantastic. And I posted Kevin's link in the
thank you.
chat. So do head over and make sure you subscribe to him. Kevin does has a great a great YouTube channel where he goes through in depth on that. I thought it was very beneficial. And then this
And
is a
and
question.
everybody pushed me to put more content out there.
Yes. Yeah.
keep me make me accountable.
Yeah. I mean, you had something 9 months ago. That's
it,
not
it
horrible, right?
it's been a busy year. I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
anticipating I'll have some time, so maybe I'll get back into it.
It's not super easy to keep content going.
Hmm.
Especially if you're trying to edit and all that stuff. But yeah, it could be a real challenge. Now I know we have another topic we're going to be getting into because we're going to be showing you how to use Key Vault with notebooks, something that just teasing that a little bit here because I thought that wasn't possible. I was like, we're not going to be able to get to that till September. I thought someone had said so. I was excited to hear that that's now a thing. So
Yeah, well, let's jump right into that unless you get
okay.
a
Well, we have
question or
one
anything.
question
Go ahead.
I was going to get to. This one actually comes from Booty over on YouTube. Can we connect live in Power BI to SharePoint files such as Excel using Microsoft Fabric? And Kevin, I'll let
Well,
you.
I'm taking the Connect Live literally, right? So there's no direct query to SharePoint that I'm aware of, and even if there was, I don't think it would work all that well, right? So you could connect Power BI, and this is not a Fabric new feature, right? You could connect your data set, your data flow to SharePoint, get Excel files from the SharePoint. Now you do have to schedule your refresh, right? So it's not going to be, hey, I updated this Excel workbook and then I immediately turn around and see that inside my Power BI report. The refresh has to occur. So you could schedule those. You could have them run. You could have the user do a Power Automate button that you put on the report that refreshes it. But this Connect Live is not. That's the part that I'm kind of stuck on. That it's not that close real time supported. Do you know anything different, Chris?
No, in fact, I think it. Not only do I not think that it would work, I don't think it will work unless they do something to automatically transform the data that's in Excel
Hmm.
and SharePoint into that Delta file set that would be in OneLake, right? Because that's what
Right.
the big difference is between OneDrive and OneLake. Is OneDrive is personal documentation that you're sharing and you're working with, so your PowerPoint, your Excels, your Word documents, that type of stuff, or videos.
Right.
When you bring data into OneLake, it's gonna native. I mean, you can store it in any format, but you're gonna get the performance you want out of it from Delta file types, which is the
Right.
native file type, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
until you get that, you're not going to have that good performance that you're wanting to see inside of Power BI. So to Kevin's point, there has to be a sync and there has to be a
Mm-hmm.
refresh, and either that sync and refresh is going to have to be defined in OneLake that you then are live connected to there, or you're going to be importing into Power BI to get that performance. So
Right. Or extending what we do on the Power BI side, right? You could use a data flow Gen 2
mm-hmm.
that's going to,
Yep.
again, you're going to have to run the schedule. That'll bring it right into a Delta table, and that goes into your lake house. Probably pipelines have worked, things like that. But again, it's not going to be a direct query, a live connection. That was the part. So if I jumped on one part of your question too much, then feel free to put an explanation in the chat. But you are going to have to do some type of sync, and if you're going to get it to connect to other data that you have within your OneLake, then definitely get it into a Delta table through data flows or something else. Data flow Gen 2.
Yeah, and you could also look at using Power Automate to watch for when the file is updated and then do a refresh of your data flow or
Right.
your data set. That's something that I just saw a demo that a client had put together. And honestly, it was really impressive. So look down that route, because that's something that
Mm-hmm.
can really move things forward, right?
Yeah, definitely. All
Yeah,
the other ways don't go away. That's what I keep saying.
right. That is spot on.
So,
All right, Kevin, why don't we head on over to your desktop, because we are hearing people like Dan is saying, "Ooh, Key Vault, nice." Greg has his own spin on it, noise. Key Vault notebook, and yes, Greg, you were beaten to the punch. Uh,
didn't think it was a competition. We're all friends here. Now, come
yes,
on.
yeah. All right,
All right.
so let me pull up your screen and let's head over to your desktop.
All right, to kind of set the table a little bit. Like I said, I think we had this question in one of our earlier Fabric Fridays, and one of the other things that I participated in, that Chris got me into, this kind of same question came up just the other day. So people were wondering, hey, I have this notebook code, I'm writing this Python stuff, and I have something that I want to keep secret. I don't want it to be in plain text within my Python code. Key vaults have historically been a great place to do that. So let me first show you, well, let me switch to show you what a key vault is so we could understand that. So I'm going to switch over. This is my Azure portal. And what you could see is it's an object type in Azure that they just call Key Vault. And I created one last night that I just happened to call Fabric Keys. And you can get what the vault URL is over here. But let me go to secrets. And you can see I just put out one secret here that I named it basic auth. Just a naming, it's just a key name that I came up with. And if I click on that, within the secret here, you can see I cannot see what it has in it, okay? Even though I created it. And if I want to do a new version, I could come up here and I could, here's the name, and I could start typing in a new value. I'm not going to do this because I needed to actually show my demo. And then once you type in that new value, actually, I could show, I'm just not going to save it. Oop, that's the wrong place. Where the secret is on this line. If I just start typing, once I'm typing here, I could click to unmask it so I could see that I put it in correctly. But this is the only time that you're going to be able to view what the secret is. Once it's in there, you can't see what what it has, or can you? Huh? There's
You
this
can
copy to
copy it out.
clipboard.
Yeah.
Oh, you can. This is new to me. I am not going to show the secret value because it's a little bit it's a foolish API that I go to, but hey, you learned it here first. I hope everybody corrected me. So you can get this. I didn't think you could. Okay. Um I'm going to mess with that later. Okay. So people were asking about using secrets in notebooks and everything. And I was reading through this author execute notebook documentation for some other reason. And I saw this section called secret redaction. And I thought to myself, well, that's interesting. What is it showing here? So if we expand this image out, what it's showing is when you get a secret from a key vault, and you try to print it, it's just going to show you the word redacted. So you're not able to see it, which is great. But maybe we missed the headline. Hey, how do you get a secret from a key vault? I don't think that was introduced before we introduced in this article, at least before it was introduced that, hey, it's going to be redacted if you're trying to use it there. But of course, since this image provides the code, we can't cut and paste this very easily from the image. It shows that we could go ahead and use it. So let me kind of get to my little demo. So I have a code block here. Let me make this hopefully a little bit bigger. Okay, I have this code block that looks a lot like what we just saw within that documentation. Does that help, hopefully? You can see I'm assigning a variable to, I call the MS Spark utilities. And this is a utility module that Microsoft puts out there. It's just loaded for you inside whenever you have a notebook.
And hang on,
yeah.
just one point of order. Kevin named it basic auth because he was defining it as a basic authentication. You could call it purple orange frog.
Right.
And right, that's just the name of it. It doesn't necessarily, you could call a different type of authentication by that same name. He's not dictating the auth type there. It's just the name of the authentication, right?
Exactly. Yeah. This is just a variable, just something. You're right. I could have called it anything. I think like I had 3 letters when I first did it the first time because I'm lazy. But yes. So this is setting up this is the URL to the vault that I set up in Azure. And then this is the secret name. Remember, I had it named basic auth over there. And then you could see if I try to print it, we could run this right now. It'll just take a couple seconds. But the output from when I ran it last night, it doesn't show you the value that exists inside the key vault. So it's going to keep it secured. That's what that documentation is talking about. So we had 5 seconds to start up, and now 5 seconds to wow. Okay, there it is, redacted. So since you can't see it, I wanted to prove that, yeah, I'm definitely being able to use it. So in the second code block, this is just calling the Toggle API. Toggle is a tool you could use to help keep track of time if anybody has ever looked at it. But this is one of their API calls, which is saying, hey, tell me things about me. And when you call their API, you need to authenticate. And you get to use the basic authentication, which you pass them what's called an encoded string. How I produced this one, I'm not going to show right now, but that's what I stored inside the key vault. So this is my authentication string that's in the variable, and I'm just plugging it into the headers that go over to my API, and then I'm able to get a response. So since we got the session up and running, we'll go ahead and run that again to prove. You can see, right, I'm able to authenticate. I'm not showing any of my authentication code. So it's very secure. If my password changed to this API, I just go update my key vault. I don't have to update anything within my notebook or anywhere else that I'm using these secrets. So
And I think right there is one of the biggest keys and why we want to be using Key Vault is
Mm-hmm.
because it makes it really easy for us to manage our authentication. So if you wanted to change your auth every hour, as I've heard some people wanting to have real tight controls around authentication and not
Mm.
allow things to stay out there for very long. You can do that through management through the Key Vault. So you just use that Key Vault, and then just you create your updates, on the back end that way. So,
If you're gonna do it every hour, you better find a way to automate updating it.
well, yeah,
It's a little often, but some things have to be that secure.
yes, yep. So this is just fantastic, and
Yeah. So hopefully, um, also encourage you read between the lines when you're reading documentation.
yeah,
The burying the lead, I think somebody else put into the chat. So so there you go. You can make your notebooks a little bit more secure. Um, how much they'll stick with Key Vaults only being into Azure itself, right? I know a lot of the goal here of being the SaaS based product is Fabric was looking to bring everything into Fabric itself. I would like to see some type of secret management up in Fabric. Don't know if that's going to come or whatever, but you would think it might, right? As with the goal of trying to get everything into one platform. We've used a lot of Key Vaults for things with Azure Data Factory in the past because there's ways you could do configurations against the Key Vaults and stuff like that. So those concepts all exist out there. Microsoft's really aware of it, and I'm sure they'll get a whole lot further with this.
yeah.
Now,
And James is actually bring up a real good point here about another good reason for using Key Vault is you never want your secrets exposed. And if you're not using Key Vault or not putting your key someplace else, you have to put your key like directly in the code itself in order to make that
hmm
connection. And that is all sorts of bad juju, right? Like you deploy that out into GitHub for code management, and then that gets exposed, or someone like shares that GitHub repository, and you just now you've exposed yourself and you potentially your data out there. So allowing for a key vault means this is now that aspect of it now makes it much easier for companies to say, okay, we can use notebooks to do
hmm
our code management, do our ETL, because
yeah.
all you have to do is establish key vaults. Here's your links. Here's how you got to authenticate, and you're good to go. Right?
Yeah, well, and that's the exact reason this came up for me because I've been digging into the Toggle API for another reason. And just to prove I could call it, when I first tested this, and this is why it's still called Notebook One, I did exactly what you were saying, right? I took my whole setup that I knew worked in another piece of software and copied it over here. And this was, this auth was shown, right? What the encoded key was, and anybody could have copied it. Yeah, it's hard. It's a long string, but if I showed it on a video, somebody could grab it and use it somewhere else. So I definitely wanted to learn this, and having those questions come up this week drove me towards it. One thing I am going to test out is this is running real time for me, and so it's authenticating to the Key Vault as my ID.
Mm.
I'm curious of what's going to happen when I schedule it. I just didn't have time last night to set up a schedule. Um, so I'm going to do that after this show, and then we'll come back next week if it doesn't work. What I had to do to kind of get it to work on a background schedule, because sometimes when you schedule things, they run as a different security context.
Oh, sure.
And so that's the next thing that I need to look at here is see what happens.
No, that is fantastic. And then, oh gosh, I have one thing. We're gonna go over to my desktop in just a second here.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe the time. We start talking on these other things and time flies by.
Right? It really does.
And it looks like we're going to miss that topic again.
No, let's get over to it. Let's do that one.
We'll have a quick conversation on this other topic.
Yes,
Okay,
we're
do you want to
nearly
take
out of
my
time, but I do want to hit on this because we've been dragging this out for too long. So, why don't you preface the topic that we're going to be getting into here, Kevin? This has
Yeah, I
been
don't know
out
that
for a
I
long time.
have a whole lot of screen shares for this, but
Okay.
what we were trying to get into is we were talking the other day about what would be a good topic for us, right? And I think it was actually on one of our Saturday morning sessions with the rest of the group. And you threw a challenging question out there that was, "Hey, what are the top 5 things you do?" I'm not paraphrasing it correctly. What are the top 5 data transformations or data activities you do? I think is the better way
Mm-hmm.
when you're going into your silver layer. And
Yep.
I thought it was a very interesting question. Um, and
Actually, you
one,
know what? Let's leave that as a preview for next week because I would really like to run through all 5 of those in more depth. But I've got
mhm.
something we're gonna flip over, and I'm gonna showcase this.
Okay.
Oh, what the heck happened?
So
Okay.
everybody else could think during this week, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, I cheated. I went to ChatGPT and I got a list of 10, and I was going to pick my favorite 5 out of that 10. But think of what are the things that you do going into the silver layer, and let's come up and have that discussion next week.
Yes. But I'm gonna share with you.
And we'll do better about chasing squirrels.
Yes. Yeah. We'll try at any rate. There is a new article out there because I know a lot of people has uh have been asking about how do you do the actual like silver layer? How do you go from bronze to silver? I have a repo that's out on GitHub that I've shared that has all sorts of files that you can load up into OneLake that you can then run a notebook and that's the manual side of it. And I was just working on how do you actually build out a pipeline for that when our friend Mark Cromer, who was on our live stream a few weeks ago, he just published an article out here that does exactly everything that we're talking about. So this article and blog post will run you through how you like go through all of the files that exist in a folder someplace, right? Move them out into your bronze layer, right? So it's gonna find the files in a storage folder, iterate over them, copy the files into the bronze layer. After that's been run a notebook to transform the data and load it into the silver layer. If successful, send an email and continue. If failed, notify via Teams channel and then fail the pipeline and execute a DAF load to combine cleanse, prepare for a gold layer, and finally issue a copy command. Right? All of that is outlined and really detailed here. So this is uh, this is life. This is what we should,
Mm-hmm.
be following. This is just an incredible article. I'm hoping that, we could spend some time at some point in time doing that. But I would really want to spend like a full hour talking through the 5 things that you think are most important when it comes to transformations inside your silver layer. So please do tune in next week as we're going to go into that because honestly, I think we could talk about all 5 of those for an hour. Okay.
Definitely, definitely. Hey, and while okay, so we still have a few minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the
Here, over
writing
your
off of
desktop.
yeah, writing off of what you just put out there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I know Alex shared this on his LinkedIn, and I started reading this article last night. But keep up with this blog site, right? This is just there's going to be so many things that they keep pushing out here,
Mm-hmm.
and this is another great article. Like it is very. I mean, you can see they even put a table of contents because it's so in depth, right? Um, this is talking about getting things from a particular data hub, but again, some of the principles could apply to other things that you're doing. So even if you're going, look, I don't use this, what the heck is, a via or whatever, however you pronounce it, right? But get the design principles down, get the concepts down, and then apply it to what you're doing. So I think this would be read the article that Chris put out there first, then jump into this article, um, and keep learning. Like I said, I was looking at it. I was at a SQL user group last night and started looking at it on my phone. And one of the slow parts of the presentation. Yes, I'm that guy. And I know people do it to me too. So
Awesome. 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 All right. Well,
yeah.
hey, we do have one question. I think we might have skipped over something here on, let's head back to screens. Greg is asking what, who's going to own the keys? How do we track the keys? What's the best way around that? Kevin, any tips, ideas, or what's best practice from your perspective on this?
Yeah. So yeah, you're typically going to set up some type of central team. I'm going to move this over here since we're not sharing, and I could look right at the mic and see the question.
Okay.
Yes, you're going to have, I would never say someone, right? You're going to have some team that's responsible for managing the key vault. And you may have multiple key vaults within your architecture based upon who's responsible for updating those keys. It could be multiple teams. I have some clients that they have a very robust, what we'll call DevOps team, right? They control everything around Azure. They're the ones setting up the resources, and a lot of them are setting up the keys, or at least the key vaults that they may then delegate the permissions down to us because we're changing the password. So whoever's doing the updates of the credentials, you want to be able to get it as quickly as possible. Now, there can be programs, APIs to push keys into that, from my understanding, because you could give things like managed identities or service principals or whatever access into doing that. So if you get into this scenario, like Chris was talking about, that something has to change every single hour, because it does, then yeah, I would have an application or some type of service that is whatever's responsible for changing it will be responsible for updating in that key vault. Chris, have you seen anything different?
No,
Any other
I
setup?
think you are spot on. That's how you're going to have one team manage that. Either that's going to be your central Azure team or your central security team, or even
Mm-hmm.
potentially that central IT data team that will manage those key vaults, so that they can establish those security parameters, and then they'll either use it themselves or they'll distribute that out to the people in their organization to use and integrate into their run books. If
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at specifically like a data mesh network, what I would do is I'm not sure if people have gone out and to my website where I've got some kind of content to help with that. But you basically have a governance framework that you use just to create AD groups and to create
Mm-hmm.
workspaces and to create capacities, right? So it's very structured and orderly. I would do the same thing when it comes to creating these key vaults so that anyone, if you're in a domain and you're going to be connecting to different sources, you have a key vault that's specific to that key, to that source that you can use, and you can, as an organization, know what or who's able to use that group. So you'll use your Entra ID to secure and manage access to that key. And yes,
Using the new name.
I use the
Good
new name
job.
for the first time live here. We're breaking new records.
Nice.
For those of you who don't know, Azure Active Directory has just been renamed to Entra ID.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, uh,
And I,
why? Who knows?
yeah, no clue on why, but it's because they got new upcoming features that are even more cloud based than Azure Active Directory, which fully lives up in the cloud. So
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
yeah, I'm not used to it yet. But I think your points are spot on, and if you're, to me, it comes back. Maybe this is just something I'm on today, right? it becomes discipline within the team or within the organization, right? When you have multiple teams doing it, that helps with the discipline because somebody else is keeping, one team is keeping another team accountable for it, right? If it's only the central Azure team that could set up key vaults, give permissions, or do the updates, you're going to have to work with them, and they're going to say, I can't go around these procedures. If it's you doing all of them, get yourself some discipline, right? And follow the same best practices, even though you could go around the system. So,
yeah, yep. And that's why it's also really good to use that, because I'm sure you've seen it, right? Like someone says, "Hey, how do you get access to this stuff?" And they're like, "Oh, you use your Power BI admin ID to gain access." And they're like, "Oh, well, what's the password?" And then you get like a direct message with it. Oh, that's great, right? Like now that's getting shared all around, and you don't know where it is, and who knows the ID, who doesn't. It's a cluster. So
I'm not going to go deep into this one. If you want to reach out to me, we can talk about it. But I was at a company once where the sysadmin, DBA sysadmin ID, and password was shared with the developers who were doing all the API or all the database updates. And the database lived in a cloud environment and was open to the internet. And so as developers,
right?
Yeah, as developers left, they still had access to the backend database. I came in and saw that, and you would have thought I could have got it solved within a day. It took me way too long to convince them to say, we need to change this. Oh, well, but that's going to delay our work. Okay. Well, let's talk.
Yeah.
So
correct. It should delay your work a little bit. This is kind of
it should.
Person.
So I finally got it fixed, and which was good, because then when I left, I couldn't be blamed that I could still get into the database and change things.
Yeah, and Kevin is right. Entra ID does sound like a possible drug name. Ask your doctor if Entra ID is right for you.
Side effects can include not authorized, slower work patterns,
inactive use of Azure Key Vault. Holy cow.
All right, well.
Okay, so just as a heads up, Wednesday, we are going to be doing a live stream with Ed Hansberry. We're going to be talking about DAX and chess, the strategy of working with DAX. Kind of excited to have this conversation, but I'm throwing up like a big red flag for everyone, letting you know I'm an alternate on jury duty on Wednesday and Thursday, so I have to call in the night before to see if I will be able to attend, or if I have to attend jury duty as my civic duty. I'll be out there doing that. But that means no live stream unless I'm going to like stream from the jury box, and that's frowned upon, they say now.
Yeah,
so
man, I was looking to get a vote. I mean, it's the people's voice. Let's get all the people that we can.
Yeah. Here we are live.
I like how you said it the other day. Your defense attorney, you're trending down a little bit. You might want to pick up your game. Real-time feedback.
Yeah. We just have like a bar chart, like a little display. Exactly. Like analytics are not going good when you come on the stream, defense attorney. People start dropping off. Look at this. We have direct correlation to that. Yeah. Awesome. But we will be back again next Friday, where we're going to be talking about Microsoft Fabric, and we're going to be talking about the 5 most important data transformations that you'll be doing at the silver layer. All right, so these are going to be conforming information. These are going to be like cleansing activities. These are going to be enriching things that we're going to do to our data to make it more usable, accessible, manageable, and consumable inside of our organization. I can't wait to see what we're going to be
Oh,
talking about next Friday. How about you, Kevin?
come back because the first one I'm going to pull out is a conversation we had a few weeks ago
Ooh,
that somewhat changed my mind on some things, right? But it also I was interested in it that it came up in the answer. So it was a conversation that you and I didn't 100% agree on. So come back for that.
awesome. Well, can't wait to have that conversation. Thank you all for tuning in on either LinkedIn or YouTube. Really appreciate you guys. Have a great day. Peace.
Peace.
Baker Tilly Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.